We don't do anything until they get up on stage and turn towards us.
Yeah.
Yes.
Shall we? The Brazilians. No repeats? Yes, yes.
Yeah, yes,
Yes,
yes.
yes.
For first-year medical students at the University of Toledo. It was the annual White Coat Ceremony. It symbolizes their journey into their medical training. The students also recited the Medical Student Pledge of Ethics. This year's event returned to being in person, allowing them to share the milestone with their families. Congratulations and good luck to all the students. We will definitely need their services one day.
Maybe I was going to say, maybe see them down the road.
Give a huge thank you to my village, my family, loved ones, friends here who have turned into family. I truly could not have made it this far without you guys, and I'm very excited to see what's to come. One of my favorite memories here will probably be the different passion community projects I was able to take part in my different orgs, and just really immerse myself in the Toledo community. And with that being said, go Rocket!
I'm Amuche, a proud graduate of the Transplantation and Donation Sciences program, the very first one of its kind designed in the country right here in UT. The university's commitment to improving human condition is not just a statement, but has been my true experience. I came here with passion, and I'm leaving fully prepared to heal, to serve, and to lead. I am a testimony of what this place can make possible. So thank you so much, U Toledo. Go Rockets!
It was such a pleasure and honor to be at U Toledo. I have learned so much about the science, about people, and most importantly, about myself. I have made such meaningful connections here that I know I will cherish for the rest of my life. I'm proud that I'm a better scientist today than I was when I first started, and I'm proud of everyone graduating today. Congratulations! Go Rockets!
My number one choice, OBGYN at Indiana University.
So I matched at the University of Toledo in physical medicine and rehab.
I'm Maria, I matched in family medicine at Riverside Hospital.
Hi, I'm Lauren, and I matched in Montefiore, New York in family medicine. Woo!
Hi, I'm Shivani. I matched in internal medicine prelim at UIC.
Hi, my name is Zach Schreckenberger. I match pediatrics at Northwestern Lurie Children's Hospital in Chicago.
Hello, my name is Jennifer Stein. I matched general surgery at Emory University.
Matched into PM&R in Parkview in Indiana, which I'm thrilled for. And then I also matched my transitional year at Santa Clara, where my husband is. So couldn't have asked for a better outcome. I'm really grateful.
I'm Amy Waters, and I matched in family medicine at Mercy in Perrysburg.
Hi, my name's Hamza Rahman. I matched at Case Western Metro Health in psychiatry.
School has been the most challenging yet rewarding journey of my life. I cannot believe graduation is finally here. I'm so grateful for the unwavering support from my mom and dad, the rest of my family, my friends, and mentors. One of my favorite memories was celebrating match day. Finding out I get to return home for residency was amazing. The joy, the relief, and the excitement in that room was unforgettable. To everyone who helped me get here, thank you from the bottom of my heart. And to my fellow classmates, congratulations, we did it. Go Rockets.
Good afternoon. Everyone, please stand for the presentation of colors and for the national anthem. Everyone, please be seated. Thank you for the presentation of colors by the University of Toledo Rocket Battalion and the performance of a national anthem by Glass City Brass. On behalf of the faculty and staff of the University of Toledo College of Medicine and Life Sciences, I'm honored to preside over today's commencement exercises. It is with great pleasure that I welcome the graduates, the families, and friends to the graduation of class of 2025 College of Medicine and Life Sciences. All of us here are going to recognize your achievements. Would all the members of the University of Toledo College of Medicine and Life Sciences of 2025 please stand and be recognized. Thank you, and congratulations. These soon-to-be doctors have done remarkable things in science, education, and patient care. Some through diligent and sustained efforts in the lab, and others through clinical research, have presented their scientific accomplishments in prestigious national meetings and have published in nationally recognized high-impact journals. Others have tutored their peers, students in other programs, or volunteered with school children in our neighborhood. College of Medicine and Life Sciences students contribute thousands of hours of peer tutoring, creating a culture of collaboration. Our students have also learned to care and have cared for others locally and around the world. These students before you have volunteered countless hours at the free community care clinics, the largest of its kind in this nation, and we have seen them in action in other clinics, operating rooms, and at the patient's bedside here in Toledo and in places outside the United States of America as medical missions. Ladies and gentlemen, they are well prepared for the world that needs talented, hardworking, and competent professionals who will discover solutions to the world's needs through research, who will educate others, and who will provide care for all people. To further their training, many of today's graduates will soon transition into residency programs. Postdoctoral training labs, educational institutions, hospitals, industry, and governmental agencies, including the armed forces locally and nationally throughout our nation. They will be joining our alumni who are prominent teachers, clinicians, scientists, and administrators in the worlds of medicine and science in America and around the world. A hallmark of our graduates is not only their competence, but their compassion and empathy for others. Our graduates are recognized the world over, and our institution, UT College of Medicine and Life Sciences, has earned the respect of others based on their successes. Graduates, before you leave today to take on the challenges of medicine, I would like to leave you with a few reminders. Always, always put your patients first. You have the greatest privilege and an incredible opportunity to positively impact the life of others when they're most vulnerable. Your competence, your empathy, and professionalism will always be a source of great solace to those in need. Treat everyone with equal respect. Even in the darkest of times, maintain your integrity and values, and there will be a firewall against bitterness and burnout. Most importantly, take care of yourself and those you love. There are many, many individuals whose efforts have made us a successful institution of higher learning. We are very proud of them, and today we will recognize a few. The University of Toledo has had tremendous support from a board of trustees, and it's my pleasure to recognize board members Ms. Lydia Ebersol, Mr. Zach Isaac, and Dr. Thomas Wakefield, who are with us today. So please stand and be recognized. Thank you so much for your support of the University and the College of Medicine and Life Sciences. Next, I'm honored to recognize Mr. Matthew Schroeder, President of the University of Toledo, who will be conferring the degrees awarded today. Interim President Schroeder, will you please stand? Thank you for all your support for the College of Medicine. I would like to extend a special welcome to our honorary degree recipient and today's commencement speaker, Dr. Rashma Jaxi. Would you please stand and be recognized? Thank you. Certainly, one of the reasons for the success of the College of Medicine and Life Sciences is the contribution of our academic and clinical affiliates. From our own hospital, the University of Toledo Medical Center, our local partner, ProMedica, as well as countless other hospitals and health systems throughout Northwest Ohio and Southeast Michigan, to our global affiliates around the world. These institutions and preceptors willingly accept our students into a training program and do an excellent job of educating them. Thank you all for the support and the essential collaboration you provide in the education of our students. I would now like to ask College of Medicine and Life Sciences faculty members and the leadership team in the College of Medicine to stand and be recognized for your efforts in the graduation of our students. Thank you very much for all you do. We are deeply indebted to you. Special recognition goes to Dr. Danae Hamuda, President of the College of Medicine and Life Sciences Faculty Council, who is the Grand Marshal for the processional for today's ceremony. Thank you again. Graduation is a team effort. I would like to ask all of the individuals, faculty, staff, students, and volunteers who have worked to plan today's commencement exercises to stand and be recognized. Finally, I would like to take a moment on this special day to recognize yet one more group of special heroes, sometimes unsung heroes, without whom this day would have not been possible. A group of individuals who have worked selflessly to provide cheer and support, to offer counsel, and to be just there when needed for the moment of sadness or extreme joy. Would the parents, spouses, partners, and children of the graduates please stand and be recognized? Thanks and congratulations to all of you. It is now my pleasure to ask President Schroeder to come to the podium and provide a greeting from the university.
Thank you, Dr. Ali, and good afternoon. Thank you to our graduates, family, and friends for joining us today to celebrate the class of 2025. We are so thankful to have so many excited graduates, proud parents, family members and friends, and dedicated faculty and staff who have joined us here today and who are turning in virtually to make this celebration one to remember for our graduates. Today marks a major milestone, one that our graduates, their families, and our faculty have long awaited. It's a day to celebrate a personal achievement, the rewards of much studying, and the many opportunities that your degree from the University of Toledo College of Medicine and Life Science will bring you. I want to thank our graduates for choosing the University of Toledo to help you prepare for your future successes. We are honored to share this celebration with you and your loved ones. We are proud of your successes to date, and we look forward to your future accomplishments. I want to personally recognize the faculty, advisors, staff, and mentors who have supported the achievements we celebrate here today. Thank you for your unwavering dedication to our students, your wisdom, your real-world patient care experience, and your ongoing pursuit of innovative research that are critical components to ensuring our University of Toledo students reach their full potential. I would like to personally thank Dr. Ali. We appreciate your leadership, You are not only a dedicated clinician, teacher, and medical researcher, but you are a trusted colleague, an advocate for our faculty and our students, and a passionate supporter of all things University of Toledo. We thank you, sir. I would also like to take a moment to recognize all of the special people in the support systems of our graduates. Whether they are your parents and friends, a spouse or a partner, children, siblings, or grandparents, to all of the individuals who have supported you, I want to say thank you. Thank you for reaching out to your graduate to offer advice, to cheer them on when times were the most difficult, and most importantly, for listening when they needed encouragement and for boosting their confidence when they doubted themselves. And to our graduates, congratulations. As you move forward, ready to tackle the next adventure as our newest alumni of the University of Toledo, please know all of us in Rocket Nation are here to support you today and in the future. As a UToledo graduate, you are now part of an alumni network of 173,000 proud alumni living around the world, ready to fulfill our mission of improving the human condition. Wherever life takes you, know that you are always welcome home to your University of Toledo. You are ready now for whatever the future brings. We cannot wait to see what you do next. Congratulations.
Thank you, President Schroeder. It is now my pleasure to introduce Dr. Sharon Thomas, University of Toledo College of Medicine, class of 2010 and pediatric residency class of 2013. Dr. Thomas went on to complete a fellowship in critical care medicine at Loma Linda Children's Hospital in California. She returned to Toledo in 2016 to join the pediatric intensivist group at ProMedica Russell J. Ebeid Children's Hospital. Since then, she has been involved in both undergraduate and graduate medical education as the director of the pediatric residency program. She's an active member of professional and community organization and several committees within the College of Medicine and Life Sciences and at Ebeid Children's Hospital. She's not only an excellent educator, but also a tireless advocate for UT and its students. Dr. Thomas.
Thank you, Dr. Ali. Thank you all for the privilege to speak on behalf of the University of Toledo College of Medicine and Life Sciences Alumni Affiliate. On behalf of Dr. Deepa Mukundan, President of the Alumni Affiliate, we extend our congratulations to all the graduates and to the individuals who have helped you to reach this milestone. We are also excited to welcome all of today's graduates as the newest members of our alumni affiliate. Alumni are among an institution's most precious assets, and you are joining the ranks of over 9,000 alumni from the University of Toledo College of Medicine and Life Sciences who are making a difference in communities across the country and around the world. Medicine is dynamic, and you will encounter challenges which you are well prepared to face. You will have opportunities to utilize advances in science to save people's lives and improve community health. You will be able to leverage and improve technology to enhance how we prevent disease and ultimately treat people better. You will identify and address health disparities in individual practice and the larger system as we work toward optimal health for all. Our affiliate members have witnessed your passion and compassion. You will not be able to heal every patient, and sometimes our profession can be overwhelming. But let me encourage you to remember why you came to medical school. Let the desire to improve the human condition be your beacon when practicing medicine is hard. As leaders in the healing profession, you recognize that caring for people is a team effort. Be kind to your patients, your staff, your colleagues, your families, and yourself. Today, the College of Medicine and Life Sciences Alumni Affiliate is pleased to present each of our graduates with a gift. Each of the graduating physicians will receive a stethoscope. The graduating doctoral candidates will receive a hand-blown glass paperweight produced right here in Toledo, the glass capital of the world. Master's degree candidates will receive a custom padfolio. In addition, all of you who are graduating today will receive a complimentary one-year membership to the University of Toledo Alumni Association. In closing, the alumni of the College of Medicine and Life Sciences applaud you for all that you have achieved and look forward to all that you will achieve in the future. You make us proud. The University of Toledo Alumni Association and the College of Medicine and Life Sciences Alumni Affiliate look forward to developing a lifelong relationship with you and will continue to support you throughout your career. Godspeed and congratulations.
Thank you, Dr. Thomas. One of the traditions of commencement is the awarding of honorary degrees in recognition for persons for outstanding contribution to their professions and to society as a whole. Today we have the honor of bestowing an honorary degree to a distinguished individual who has made a remarkable contribution to the health of our nation. Present Shoda, ladies and gentlemen, it is my great pleasure to introduce Dr. Reshma Jaxi, an internationally recognized scholar and clinical researcher for her research in breast cancer, health services, and bioethics. Dr. Jaxi is the Lawrence Davis Professor and Chair of the Department of Radiation Oncology and a Senior Faculty Fellow in the Center of Ethics at Emory University. She holds an MD degree from Harvard Medical School, a master's and a doctorate degree from Oxford University. Dr. Jaxi completed her trainings at the University of Hawaii and Massachusetts General Hospital. A board-certified radiation oncologist, Dr. Jaxi specializes in the care of patients with breast cancer. Dr. Jaxi has been elected to the National Academy of Medicine, Association of American Physicians, and American Society of Clinical Investigation in recognition of her work to promote equity in health outcomes of patients and career outcomes of physicians. Author of more than 500 publications, she's PI on multiple grants from NIH and other foundations. Her research includes studies investigating women's underrepresentation in senior positions in academic medicine and the mechanisms that must be targeted to promote equity among NIH-funded clinical researchers, leading to numerous high-impact publications in journals like the New England Journal of Medicine and JAMA. Also a clinical researcher and health service investigator herself, she's internationally recognized for her research to strengthen autonomy in patients with breast cancer and to individualize breast cancer care. Active in organized medicine, she serves on the National Academy of Science, Engineering, and Medicine's Committee on Women in Science, Engineering, and Medicine, the NIH Advisory Committee for Research on Women's Health, the Steering Committee of the Early Breast Cancer Trialist Collaborative Group, and the Lancet's Breast Cancer Commission. She's a former member of the Board of Directors of the American Society of Clinical Oncology. She has received many honors, including the Marion Spencer Fay Award, the Elizabeth Blackwell Award, the AAMC Group on Women in Science and Medicine Leadership Award, Lead Oncology's Woman of the Year Award, American Society of Radiation Oncologists Inaugural Mentorship Award, AMSA's Women Leaders in Medicine Award, American Women in Science Meridian Award, AMA's Inspiration Award, AMWA's Women in Science Award, American Association of Women in Radiology's Marie Curie Award. She's a fellow of the American Association of Advancement of Sciences, American Society of Clinical Oncologists, American Society of Radiation Oncologists, and many other organizations, including the Hastings Center. Interim President Schroeder, it is my distinct honor to present to you Dr. Reshma Jaxi.
Dr. Jaxi, we are honored to have you here with us today. Upon the recommendation of the faculty and by the authority vested in me by the state of Ohio and the trustees of the University of Toledo, I hereby confer upon you the honorary degree of Doctor of Science, honoris causa, in recognition of your outstanding contributions and your service to all of humanity. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. This is an incredible honor, and I am so grateful to you and the leaders of the University of Toledo for the great privilege of giving me a few minutes of your attention on this momentous day, which is, for the class of 2025, the culmination of so much that you and all those who have supported you have worked so hard to achieve, and the beginning of many great contributions that I know you will make to our society. I myself matriculated to medical school exactly 30 years ago, so that makes me, well, to those of you who are graduating, really old, but there is a point here. The year I went to medical school in 1995, the very first protease inhibitor for HIV and AIDS was developed. The first triple organ transplant was performed, and a new blockbuster drug, OxyContin, was launched. Amazon.com was incorporated, and at that time, in 1995, the human genome hadn't been mapped yet, but we all believed it soon would be. Now, I'm the daughter of a doctor, and he liked to remind me that when he entered medical school, DNA hadn't even been discovered yet. And he was right in making that point, which is the same one I'm trying to make to you, which is that it's remarkable how quickly medical knowledge advances and how quickly our world changes. And you are going to be part of an even more rapidly changing field and world thanks to new technologies like artificial intelligence and more. When you get asked to stand up on a stage to give a medical school commencement address in 30 years, I wonder what things you'll look back on as memorable and why. What changes you'll have witnessed and yourselves caused to occur. But what won't change is the need to reflect on our place in that world, our privileged professional status as physicians, and the ways that we can and should use what we have learned. To that end, I want to share a little bit with you about what else I've learned over the years. After a long adolescence, during which I expended remarkable effort to differentiate myself from my parents, adolescence, what goes around comes around, I now parent 2 teenagers, I have come to realize that all I am is because of my parents and the values that they instilled in me. My mother was born in 1936 in Tanzania, at a time when Muslim girls weren't taught math or science beyond the 6th grade. Somehow, she managed to come to the U.S. on a scholarship to study at the University of Wisconsin in the 1960s, where she earned her bachelor's and master's degrees while also touring the country as part of a peace caravan. There's some incredible newspaper clippings in her scrapbook documenting how she spoke to rooms full of people about justice and tolerance. She not only instilled those ideals in me, but never let me forget that it was an incredible privilege for me to get to study the subjects of math and science that she never got to pursue at a higher level. I think deep down, she always wanted to be a doctor herself, and I'm glad I ended up giving her the chance to live that out vicariously through me. My father was also from Tanzania, a Hindu doctor who one day went to work and was greeted by his senior partner in a 2-doctor private practice. And the senior partner, his mentor, thrust a newspaper at my father and pointed at the headline, "Physicians being nationalized." The mentor pointedly told my dad, if I were a younger man, I would go on holiday today. My father said he understood this might be his last chance to escape what was quickly becoming a totalitarian regime, and he quickly took down his diploma off the wall, rolled it up into that newspaper. He couldn't bring himself to fold it, and I think some of you here today will understand that. And he headed home, where he quickly packed a bag with just 5 shirts and 5 British pounds cash. He even took off his watch and left it on the dresser of a home he would never see again. He went to the airport, where he was greeted by 2 very young men with 2 very big weapons who seemed uncomfortable and apologized to him. "We're sorry, doctor, but they just announced that physicians are being nationalized, so you can't leave." My father mustered all of the false confidence he could and said, "Oh, come on, really? This is my holiday. I'm only going to England for 5 days. Are you sure you can't let me go on my holiday?" They looked sheepishly at one another and inspected his bag, and one said, "He has nothing of value with him. Let him go, he will be back." They never looked at his newspaper. And just like that, my father became a penniless immigrant who had to start all over again. And because he was a doctor, it all turned out okay. This was the story he told me to teach me 2 other lessons. 1, education is the one thing that no one can take from you. And 2, use your voice when you have a chance. He never forgave himself or his colleagues for not doing more to combat the injustice that existed in his country before it led to the circumstances that made it impossible for him ever to return. I think he's the one and only doctor of Indian origin of his generation who was genuinely distressed when his only child told him that she wanted to go to medical school. He always wanted me to study law or politics, and ultimately I did a bit of both. I studied government as an undergraduate and got a doctorate in social policy, became a bioethicist in addition to becoming a physician, and that life path was uniquely shaped by my parents. The 2 of them together, a result of all that they learned and all that they taught me. So many of you are here with your own parents or others who've taught you life lessons like these. Please seize this occasion to thank them for inspiring you and believing in you. Tell them exactly what stories they told you that have made an impact. And please also take this moment to reflect on those lessons. You're right now fresh on the heels of writing beautiful residency application essays that I always enjoy reading. Those essays clearly document your why. And in the coming years, you're going to need to return to that why time and time again. Graduate medical education and medical practice are not easy, but they are the most gratifying experiences anyone could possibly imagine in a career. And remembering your why is what's going to make the difficult times more bearable and the good times even more joyous. Embrace those who are your true mentors, those who will not try to mold you in their own image, but will ask you to reflect on what motivates you and help you be your best selves. Persist in the face of rejection because it's going to come. I know, as the parent of teenagers, that you basically have to walk on water to get into medical school these days, so you're probably not used to anything but excellence and affirmation. The next few years are going to test you. They're going to require you to realize you're not perfect, and that's okay. You're going to need to have the resilience to get back up after falling down, and you're going to need to know why you're doing that. It's to be true to those values that guided you to medicine in the first place. We live in challenging times. It feels like our country is divided and polarized on so many issues, and yet I can't help but come back to the fundamental values that the vast majority of us share. Respect for human dignity, autonomy, and excellence. Medicine as a profession to support healthy people, creating a healthy society in which everyone has the opportunity to make the most of their talents in ways that benefit us all. So I'll leave you with a quote that I can't stop thinking about these days, from none other than a young teenager, Anne Frank. In spite of everything, I still believe that people are really good at heart. Remember that as you go forth into this world. The words of children are sometimes those that best capture the most important truths. Congratulations to you, class of 2025, and all those who have loved, supported, and inspired you along the way. Congratulations, my future physician, my fellow physicians.
Thank you, Dr. Jackson. We will now begin the presentation of candidates for degree and certificates. Dr. Candace William, Senior Associate Dean for the College of Medicine and Life Sciences graduate and undergraduate programs, and Dr. Randall Worth, Senior Associate Dean for Student Affairs and Admissions, will present the degrees for the University of Toledo College of Medicine and Life Sciences class of 2025, followed by Mr. Matt Schroeder, President of the University of Toledo, who will then confer the degrees. Each graduate, starting with the recipients of graduate degrees and certificates, will be invited to come forward to the stage on my left. After graduates receive their diploma cases and congratulations, you're asked to return to your seat and be seated. Dr. Williams and Dr. Worth.
Will all of the candidates for graduate degrees please stand and remain standing? Interim President Schroeder, it is my great pleasure to present the candidates for all degrees of Doctor of Philosophy in Biomedical Science and Master of Science in Biomedical Science.
And will all the candidates for medical degrees please stand and remain standing? Interim President Schroeder, it's my great pleasure to present the candidates for the degrees of Doctor of Medicine and other combined degrees.
Upon the recommendation of the faculty and by the authority vested in me by the state of Ohio and the trustees of the University of Toledo, I do confer upon all of the qualified candidates, including those absent today, the degrees for which they have met the requirements. You are charged with the duties and responsibilities of that degree and granted the privileges and prerogatives appertaining thereto and the obligations of the duties and responsibilities of the professions. The doctoral graduates may now move their tassels from the back left of their motorboards to the front left. The master's graduates may now move their tassels from the back right of their motorboards to the back left side of their motorboards. Congratulations.
Medical degree graduates may be seated. Interim President Schroeder, Dr. Ali, faculty, parents, and guests, the College of Graduate Studies at the University of Toledo enjoys a tradition of excellence in 42 research doctoral programs, 8 professional doctoral programs, 49 master's degree programs, 39 professional master's programs, and 47 graduate certificates in 9 colleges across the university. Today, 41 students will be graduating from 6 different graduate programs in the College of Medicine and Life Sciences. The recipients for the degrees of Doctor of Philosophy in Biomedical Science and Master of Science in Biomedical Sciences will have their hoods placed by Dr. Ivana De La Serna, Associate Professor, Department of Cell and Cancer Biology, and Dr. Nicole Dominiak, Associate Professor of Pathology, or their own designated hooders. The College of Medicine's doctoral program in biomedical sciences began in 1975. It now trains students to become independent research scientists in the fields of cancer biology, neuroscience, and neurological diseases, medical microbiology and immunology, molecular medicine, and bioinformatics. Today, we are bestowing a well-deserved posthumous doctoral PhD degree to Daniela Gamboa Pabon's family. This doctoral degree has been approved by her advisor, the department chair, the College of Medicine and Life Sciences dean, the University of Toledo Provost, President, and the University of Toledo Board of Trustees. Daniela Gamboa Pabon was awarded a Bachelor of Science from the College of Natural Sciences and Mathematics here at the University of Toledo, with a major concentration in neurosciences and a minor in chemistry in May of 2020. Danny was then accepted into the College of Medicine and Life Sciences Biomedical Science program within the Neuroscience and Neurological Disorders track as a pre-doctoral student in the fall of 2020. Danny unexpectedly and tragically, lost her life in the spring of 2024 in her 4th year of pre-doctoral research studies. Danny was a graduate student in very good standing and nearing the completion of all requirements for her doctoral degree. Danny has left a legacy in the College of Medicine and Life Sciences with the positive impact she had on students, faculty, and staff, as well as research during her time here that will not be forgotten. She will be greatly missed. Danny's family and friends have generously donated sufficient funds to the University of Toledo Foundation for an annual award in Daniela's memory to a College of Medicine and Life Sciences doctoral student trainee who best exhibits her strong research dedication. Today, the University of Toledo and Board of Trustees are awarding Daniela Gamboa Pabon a posthumous doctoral degree to be accepted by her advisor, Dr. Alyssa Anderi, and her family, Danny's father, Sergio Gamboa, mother, Vicky Pabon, and brother, Diego. Would her family and Dr. Anderi please approach the stage? Thank you all. Would the candidates for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Biomedical Science please come forward to be hooded, recognized, and receive congratulations?
Dr. Nicole Amber Bell, hooded by Dr. David Giovannucci. Dr. Benjamin Wyatt French, hooded by Dr. David J. Kennedy. Dr. Ryan Harris, hooded by Dr. Travis Taylor. Dr. Mir Himiyat Kabir, hooded by Dr. Travis Taylor. Dr. Mrunmei R. Katalagankar, hooded by Dr. Charles Thodetti. Dr. Jennifer Wynn, hooded by Dr. James Burkett. Dr. Neelanjana Saffron, hooded by Dr. James Burkett.
Please join me in congratulating these newly minted PhDs. The Master of Science in Biomedical Science program in the College of Medicine and Life Sciences currently offers advanced study in 14 different areas of concentration. Would the candidates for the degree of Master of Science in Biomedical Sciences please come forward to be hooded, recognized, and receive congratulations.
Jenna Elizabeth Boone. Jasmine Campbell. Danielle Renee Dager. Evelyn Dewey. Supriya Dar. Jarrett Robert Dye. Albimar Fraticelli Cartagena. Gerardo Garcia. Andra Grant. Kayla Sujiji Gray. Nathaniel Haas. Logan Min Harris. Darpan Singh Jutela. Grace Labriola. Jennifer McGee. Bryce McGrady. Delaney McGranahan. Samuel McMaster. Grant Scott Miller. Christiana Ete Mukube. Hannah Nam. Amuche Augie. Sana Siddiqui. Hugo Sigona Gonzalez. Colton Eric Smock. Brittany Stone. Mendon Grace Thomas Wood. Sophia Weedall. Carol Nassif.
Please join me in congratulating these master's degree recipients. Dr. Ali, that concludes the presentation of candidates for graduate degrees.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. At this time, I would like to call upon Dr. Benjamin French to give the graduate student commencement speech. Dr. French is the year's outstanding student in Doctor of Philosophy in Biomedical Science program.
Testing? Good? All right. Thank you, Dr. Ali. I appreciate it. It's an honor to stand here today among this incredible graduating class, a class that has persevered through challenges far beyond the typical rigor of medical and graduate education. In the past few years, we've weathered our share of historic moments, rap battles, submarine incidents, and even the invasion of Park U Toledo on campus. Despite all of this, we are still here today. Congratulations. The work we've done to reach this moment has been hard. Important, yes, but challenging in ways that often felt overwhelming. Each of us has had to find ways to manage stress, recharge, and keep moving forward. For me, that included a lot of music and podcasts, sometimes a little bit too much. According to my 2024 Spotify Wrapped, there was a day last April where I streamed 23 hours and 11 minutes of audio. I don't remember what was happening that day, but I can only hope that it was impressive. Beyond these coping strategies, one of the biggest factors shaping our experiences as students is the people around us. I feel very fortunate to be graduating from a lab that I picked in my first year of graduate school, what feels like dozens of historic events ago. The students and postdocs have been nothing but welcoming and supportive. My advisors are eager and insightful, and they still manage to get inspired by new ideas every time I ask them a question. There's a simple phrase that my mentors often repeated, not just a motto, but something that they lived every day. Before I get to that, though, I'd like everyone to take a moment to think about the most sage advice, the best lesson that you've learned from your own mentors. Then, picture me saying it up on stage here, so you think I'm actually wiser than I really am. People do their best work when they're happy. Hearing that as a student working under my advisors, the most obvious interpretation of this was, they'll keep us happy and we'll do good work with them. I can say that this has been my experience in every interaction that I've had with my advisors. But, as anyone here can attest, we did not pursue these degrees to simply take the most obvious interpretation. Experiencing this philosophy daily for the past 5 years has taught me that creating an environment where people can be happy, where ideas are nurtured, victories are celebrated, and setbacks are faced together is not a luxury. More importantly, my advisors taught me that forming lasting friendships, those rooted in trust, virtue, and a shared pursuit of the good, are not just welcome, they're vital. These relationships sustain us through the inevitable storms of life and career, helping us grow in character. Valuing family, prioritizing balance, and caring about well-being are not afterthoughts. In a world where deference to creepy AI chatbots threatens to make us all less human, the value of real, authentic, human friendships is existential. They are foundational to excellence. Looking out at all of you today, at so many smiling faces, I'm hopeful. We are ready to go out and do our best work because we understand that excellence is not achieved alone. It's built together through trust, perseverance, and encouragement. It won't always be easy, but if we carry these things with us, along with the purpose that has brought us here today, there's nothing that we can't achieve together. When we leave the ceremony and move on to our next step, whether it's the clinic, a job, a lab, or more training, I ask that each of you take some time to reflect. Don't spend time thinking about the mountains of work that you've gone through or your lessons that you've learned here. Although, if you are working with patients, please do keep those lessons locked away. But instead, think about all of the people who helped you get you to where you are today. Administrative staff who were helpful with deadlines and bureaucracy, mentors who were encouraging when things were hard or confusing, and our fellow classmates. Even if their contribution was being just as lost as we were, that meant we weren't alone. Now that we get to walk across the stage, now that we are standing at the starting line of our next big journey, it's crucial we ask ourselves this: how will we provide the best care and support for everyone around us? How will we carry forth what has been given to us here? Now, before I close, there's just a few more things that I need to say. So, on behalf of all of us graduating today, thank you to our family, parents, spouses, and friends whose love and sacrifices carried us through this journey, to the faculty, staff, and mentors who have made this possible. Thank you all for believing in us, even when we weren't sure we believed in ourselves. Now, I just feel like since we're the Toledo Rockets, it's appropriate to quote Jimmy Neutron and say, I got a blast, but I see a lot of happy people here on this special day, so let's get out there and do our best work. Thank you, and go Rockets.
Thank you, Dr. French. At this time, we will award the Doctor of Medicine degrees. Dr. Randall Worth, Senior Associate Dean for Student Affairs and Admissions, will introduce the degree candidates. Dr. Worth.
Thank you, Dr. Ali. Of the Doctor of Medicine candidates who are graduating today, 5 of the students have completed an additional 1 to 4 years of education at the graduate level, and thus will receive a dual MD and graduate degree certificate. Dr. Amira Gohara, professor in the Department of Pathology and Dean Emerita of the College of Medicine and Life Sciences, and Dr. Coral Mattis, Associate Dean for Clinical Undergraduate Medical Education, were selected by the graduating class for the honor of hooding the candidates. The dual MD-PhD program is a rigorous course of study consisting of full medical school, preclinical, and clinical requirements, in addition to graduate study and research in one of 4 interdisciplinary tracks aligned with disease processes. I will now announce the recipient of the degree of Doctor of Medicine and Doctor of Philosophy in Biomedical Sciences. Dr. Nicholas Henkel, hooded by Dr. Robert Smith. The MD-MBA program is a 5-year program offered in partnership with the College of Medicine and Life Sciences and the College of Business and Innovation. The integrated MD-MBA curriculum is designed to train physicians who are committed to becoming lifelong leaders in medicine and healthcare administration. I will now announce the recipient of the dual degrees of Doctor of Medicine and Master of Business Administration. Dr. Vaishnavi Arajula will be hooded by Dr. David Kennedy. The University of Toledo offers a competitive year-long fellowship in pathology between the 2nd and 3rd years of medical school, in which students take courses leading to the graduate certificate in pathology, while also completing clinical training in anatomical, clinical, and forensic pathology, and teaching pathology to 2nd-year medical students in the organ systems block. I will now announce the recipients of the dual Doctor of Medicine degree and graduate certificate in pathology. Dr. Tanya Arms, being hooded by Dr. Kimberly Jenkins. Dr. Bhakti Dixit, being hooded by Dr. Jacob Wexler. Dr. Mackenzie Elrod, being hooded by Dr. Amira Gohara. Congratulations to our dual degree graduates. The next step in the path that these MD graduates must take to practice medicine in the United States is entering an accredited residency program known as graduate medical education. As detailed in the Commencement program, the graduates have chosen to pursue the residency in medical specialties across the country. Some of the MD graduates will be pursuing specialized research fellowships prior to entering the residency training. Will the candidates for the degree of Doctor of Medicine please come forward to be hooded, recognized, and receive congratulations. Audience, I would ask you to please hold your applause until all of the graduates have been hooded, and then we'll have a large round of applause. Dr. David J. Allen, hooded by Dr. Jim Allen. Dr. Faris Al-Khwazmi, hooded by Dr. Fuad Al-Khwazmi. Dr. Shivani Amberdkar. Dr. Brittany Amin, hooded by Dr. Julius Amin. Dr. Alexander Joshua Arch. Dr. Marina Christine Atala, hooded by Dr. Joseph Atala. Dr. Rohit Reddy Atluri. Dr. Warren Back. Dr. James S. Bassett III, hooded by Dr. James Bassett, Jr. Dr. Omar H. Bassioni. Dr. Chelsea Marie Baylor, hooded by Dr. Sarah Barnett Heyman. Dr. Nicholas F. Bean, hooded by Dr. Laura Sifra Bean. Dr. John Patrick Bennett. Dr. Elizabeth Besley. Dr. Michael Besley. Dr. Martina Blazovic, hooded by Dr. Lori Gottwald. Dr. Emma Taylor Bolyard, hooded by Dr. Brooks Bolyard. Dr. Kieran M. Boyanapalli. Dr. Joseph Dale Brenner, hooded by Dr. Joseph Brenner. Dr. Kevin Joseph Brown, hooded by Dr. Marion Brown. Dr. Alec Michael Bryson. Dr. Margot Jane Bush, hooded by Dr. Robert James Zanotti. Dr. Connor Campbell. Dr. Matthew G. Carlisle, hooded by Dr. Mary Ann Richmond. Dr. Janida Dominique Savella Chan, hooded by Dr. Nidar Angel Savella. Dr. Joanna Chen, hooded by Dr. Liam Chen. Dr. Soyoung Chian, hooded by Dr. So Dr. Kyle Kottner, hooded by Dr. James Van Hook. Dr. Kanya Daya Dietrich, hooded by Dr. Joe Dietrich. Dr. Daniel Oluwadamalere, hooded, I'm sorry, one more try. I'm sorry. Dr. Daniel Oluwadamalere Demahin, hooded by Dr. Moses Demahin. Dr. Sarit Dar. Dr. Alexander Didier. Dr. Sashir R. Doty, hooded by Dr. Robert Smith. Dr. T. Nicholas John Domitrovic. Dr. Tony Dong. Dr. Dharmendra Dulal. Dr. Ronak Al-Sheikh Idris. Dr. Andrew Fossey. Dr. Bryce L. Flickinger, hooded by Dr. Alan Flickinger. Dr. Kaylee Joy Fredrickson. Dr. Jacob Fries. Dr. Alisa Gega. Dr. Nathan R. Jambreska. Dr. Jaron George, hooded by Dr. Christopher Sanford. Dr. Courtney Gorel, hooded by Dr. Stephanie Pennell. Dr. Aaron Grau, hooded by Dr. Stephanie Pennell. Dr. Anna Guo. Dr. Grace Catherine Hamilton, hooded by Dr. Susan Turner. Dr. Marwa Isa Hassan, hooded by Dr. Noor Hassan. Dr. Jacob Freeman Hasselback, hooded by Dr. Nina Hasselback. Dr. Sydney Ellen Hatch, hooded by Dr. Richard Patt. Dr. Mordecai Zvi Hecht, hooded by Dr. Mark Sheleb. Dr. Zach Nolan Heron, hooded by Dr. Jennifer Heron. Dr. Jama Hersey. Dr. Adam Ross Hiltz, hooded by Dr. Jeff Schultz. Dr. Brett Andrew Hoffman, hooded by Dr. Chris Sanford. Dr. Carolyn Howell, hooded by Dr. Scott Howell. Dr. Nicholas Edward Huffman, hooded by Dr. Christopher Sanford. Dr. Diane O. Ihebum, hooded by Dr. Kimberly Jenkins. Dr. Jonathan Galen Irvin. Dr. Kyla R. Johnson, hooded by Dr. Jakini Ossett S. Ingram. Dr. Ryan K. Jones, hooded by Dr. Kenneth Jones. Dr. Dilpreet Kaur Kaley, hooded by Dr. Susan Turner. Dr. Colin Brosnan Roger Keith. Dr. Carly Kelly, hooded by Dr. Sharon Thomas. Dr. Sarah Khan, hooded by Dr. Wakar Khan. Dr. Fumitaka Kikyo. Dr. Jennifer Kim, hooded by Dr. Shirley Bodai. Dr. Noah King. Dr. Connor J. Knight, hooded by Dr. Mark Linford. Dr. Jun Kyung, hooded by Dr. Anna Butcher. Dr. Alyssa Lang. Dr. Janie Lang, hooded by Dr. Liquan Lang. Dr. Wei-Shin Liu, hooded by Dr. Chao-Wen Liu. Dr. Anvitha Madaravam. Dr. Ethan Tyler Mahaffey, hooded by Dr. Donna Mahaffey. Dr. Natalie Mainland, hooded by Dr. Mary Mainland. Dr. Isa I. Malik. Dr. Lauren Mansour, hooded by Dr. Megan Mansour. Dr. Jack Mariani, hooded by Dr. Mac Mariani. Dr. Allison Frances Mascarenas, hooded by Dr. Dunstan Frances Mascarenas. Dr. Zara Mehdi, hooded by Dr. Batul Mehdi. Dr. Jimmy Mead. Dr. Emily Marie Moore. Dr. Gabriel D. Moss, hooded by Dr. Mohammed Musa. Dr. Alicia Nahas, hooded by Dr. Ahed Nahas. Dr. Rita Zara Naqvi, hooded by Dr. Syed Anwar Hussein Naqvi. Dr. Antara Nigam, hooded by Dr. Kashvi Patel. Dr. Jordan Nicole Norris, hooded by Dr. Jason Schroeder. Dr. Ivan Ogrodzinsky, hooded by Dr. Martin Ogrodzinsky. Dr. Vikyathi Palerla, hooded by Dr. Sravani Tunaguntala. Dr. Alexander Paluzny, hooded by Dr. Mark Paluzny. Dr. Devin Patel. Dr. Shivani Chandrakant Patel, hooded by Dr. Shilpa Patel. Dr. Josh Pelia, hooded by Dr. Bhupinder Singh Pelia. Dr. Lauren May Peltier. Dr. Avish Persod, hooded by Dr. Sassanarine Persod. Dr. Claire Louise Popovich, hooded by Dr. Mark Popovich. Dr. Stephen Pravosnik, hooded by Dr. Darcy Davis. Dr. Daniel Kadir, hooded by Dr. Aftab Kadir. Dr. Lauren Rager, hooded by Dr. Benjamin Tensinko. Dr. Magna Ranabotu, hooded by Dr. Kimberly Jenkins. Dr. Humza Syed Raymond, hooded by Dr. Syed Masih Raymond. Dr. Michael Rice, hooded by Dr. Megan Rice. Dr. Brennan Scott Richard. Dr. Ian Risser. Dr. Hannah Rose Roberts, hooded by Dr. John Young. Dr. Marlo Alexis Robinson, hooded by Dr. David Huang. Dr. Kristen Rockwell, hooded by Dr. Bradley Rockwell. Dr. Jennifer Russell, hooded by Dr. Natalie Scanlon. Dr. Dominic Rui, hooded by Dr. Maria Rui. Dr. Arpita Rhea Saha Perkins. Dr. Zachary James Schreckenberger. Dr. Catherine Marie Schubauer, hooded by Dr. Mary Beth Schubauer. Dr. Shivangi Sharma, hooded by Dr. Neha Tannen. Dr. Elizabeth Shimura. Dr. Alyssa Ciano Osio, hooded by Dr. Victor Osio. Dr. Juliana May Sim, hooded by Dr. Lily Sim. Dr. Dipanshu Singh. Dr. Sonam Sharma Singh, hooded by Dr. Satwant Singh. Dr. Julia Nicole Slogar, hooded by Dr. Jennifer Berg. Dr. Jacob L. Snyder, hooded by Dr. Grant Snyder. Dr. Addison Rain Sparks, hooded by Dr. Richard Patt. Dr. Taylor Spurgeon Hess, hooded by Dr. Nancy Belknap. Dr. Catherine E. Stibley. Dr. Jennifer M. Stein. Dr. Madison A. Stolley, hooded by Dr. Grace Nadonley. Dr. Michael Robert Stuckert, hooded by Dr. Robert Stuckert III. Dr. Rubab Syed, hooded by Dr. Karab Syed. Dr. Adil Nasir Thasif, hooded by Dr. Farzana Thasif. Dr. Ashima Thusu, hooded by Dr. Kajuri Thusu. Dr. Lauren E. Tucker, hooded by Dr. Anu Garg. Dr. Daniel Valentine, hooded by Dr. Michael Egan. Dr. Shangari Varatharajan, hooded by Dr. Aaron Varatharajan. Dr. Madison Taylor Vargo. Dr. Alexander Kyle Vogel. Dr. Dylan Vonderheuvel. Dr. Andrew L. Walk, hooded by Dr. Matthew L. Walk. Dr. Anthony Wade. Dr. Ashley Wagenhauser, hooded by Dr. Richard Patt. Dr. Kelly D. Walker, hooded by Dr. Amy Walker. Dr. Amy Catherine Waters, hooded by Dr. Anthony Patton. Dr. Dean Edward Watkins. Dr. Jessica N. Williams, hooded by Dr. Sharon Thomas. Dr. Erica Renee Wilt, hooded by Dr. Jeffrey Wilt. Dr. Braden Womack. Dr. Teresa Yukwu Wong, hooded by Dr. Shuhao Q. Dr. Lauren Rose Workman. Dr. Tiffany Yu. Dr. Grace Catherine Zahar. Dr. Quina Yaquan Zhao, hooded by Dr. Zhongkeng Zhao. Dr. Ali Zia, hooded by Dr. Lishu Shusad. Dr. Michelangelo Raphael Zulu, hooded by Dr. Mackenzie Dre.
Thank you. Thank you. In order to show their commitment to the profession of medicine, the graduating medical students will now recite a physician's oath. Each year, the graduating class votes for the oath they wish to recite and classmate they wish to lead the oath. The Doctor of Medicine class of 2025 has selected Dr. Catherine Schuber to lead the recitation of the Oath of Hippocrates. Dr. Schuber, will you please come to the podium?
Will the MD graduates please stand? Please join me in reciting the Oath of Hippocrates found on the last page of the program. Upon this day of graduation, as I seek admission to the medical profession, I do solemnly affirm, as did the ancient Greeks, by all that I hold most sacred, that, according to my ability and judgment, I will keep this oath and its stipulations, to hold my teachers in this art equal to my own parents, and extend to them the respect and gratitude which is their due. I will precept, lecture, and every other mode of instruction impart a knowledge of the art to my sons and daughters and those of my teachers and to disciples bound by covenant and oath according to the law of medicine. I will follow that system of treatment which, according to my ability and judgment, I consider for the benefit of my patients and abstain from whatever is deleterious and mischievous. I will exercise my art solely for the cure of my patients and the prevention of disease, and will give no drugs and perform no operations for a criminal purpose, no far less suggest such a thing. With honor and dignity, I will practice my profession, not permitting consideration of religion, nationality, race, or social standing to intervene between duty and my patient. Into whatsoever houses I enter, I will go for the benefit of the sick and will hold myself aloof from every voluntary act of wrongdoing or corruption. Whatever I may see or hear in the lives of men which ought not be spoken abroad, I will not divulge, reckoning that such should be kept secret. While I continue to keep this oath unviolated, may it be granted to me to enjoy life and the practice of art respected by all men in all times. But should I trespass and violate this oath, may the reverse be my lot. Please be seated.
Thank you, Dr. Schubert. At this time, we will be commissioning of our military graduates performed by Dr. Thomas Soderman, Professor of Medicine and Associate Dean of Student Affairs.
Come on down. We want to see your smiling faces. There we go. Interim President Schroeder, Dean Ollie, Dr. Jagsey, graduates, family, and guests. At this time, I'd like to call our military graduates to the floor. Thank you for allowing me to undertake one of my favorite tasks, namely swearing in new members of the Medical Corps. As this is one of the last tasks today, I'm standing between you and the end of graduation. I'll be brief. All of these new doctors you see in front of you have chosen to serve others, taking on the heavy burdens and responsibilities that come with this vocation, and paying the price in terms of time spent studying, taking care of patients, sleepless nights, etc. Some have taken on the additional responsibility of serving their country in the military, with the additional price of the possibility of even more time spent away from families in training, conflict, and humanitarian missions. Not everything is gloomy, and there are some trade-offs. For example, not having to decide what to wear every day. That's why we call it a uniform. Working with and taking care of truly excellent people around the world, and the opportunity to jump out of perfectly good airplanes with a parachute, which we in the Air Force frown on. Grads, doctors, always remember you didn't do this alone. You had family, friends, and each other to support you in getting through school, and they'll be there for you in residency and the rest of your lives. Families and friends, thanks for being there for them. They couldn't have done it without you. And now, without further ado, attention to commissioning. Please raise your right hand. I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same. That I take this obligation freely, without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office upon which I'm about to enter. So help me God. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Soderman. At this time, I would like to call upon Dr. Jack Mariani to give the medical student commencement speech. Dr. Mariani was selected by the medical student classmates to deliver their address. Dr. Mariani.
Hey, how's it going? I know everybody over here is just dying to hear from me again. You know, Jack doesn't really talk a whole lot. I wish he would get up and say something, but, you know, okay, fine, I'll give a speech. Just remember you guys voted for this, but technically you voted for Katie, but the second mouse gets the cheese. What do I do now? Okay. It's truly an honor to be speaking to you all today, you know, closing up the University of Toledo College of Medicine and Life Sciences MD class of 2025 graduation. It means a great deal for me to be up here representing this class, these people, this university, and the future leaders in medicine that I have on stage, in the crowd with me today. It is a monumental day for all those reasons, but it's also a monumental day because this is the first mandatory event that Ferris has actually bothered to show up to. And you know, it is a big deal. You know, it all led up to today. Every OChem all-nighter, every MCAT practice test, MBME form, volunteering shift, 6 a.m. pre-rounding, afternoon add-on case on a Friday. It all ends today, right? Like, this is what it was all for. And all our effort and perseverance has led to now, and we should feel very proud, you know? It's a big deal. We just became doctors of medicine, so it's a big achievement, a testament to our hard work, dedication. We should all just take a minute, soak that all in. All right, that's enough time. Back to work. I can't say enough about how much of a privilege it was to train alongside each and every one of you, even Danny. When I look around my classmates, I'm stunned by the level of intellect, compassion, humility, fortitude, kindness, support, and love that we've demonstrated for one another and for this community. I swear, most days I'm just happy to be here with you guys. It makes me proud to say, with great conviction, that the future of medicine is in great hands, and the people on this stage will be, I keep saying stage, I thought we'd be on stage, will be compassionate and humble caretakers of their fellow human. There's so many people not up here, not in this room, who need to be thanked for all the support and guidance that brought us here today. But if you are in this room, that means you made a difference for someone, and your support and sacrifice should be absolutely celebrated. So to all the professors, attendings, family, friends, everyone in here deserves a big round of applause for themselves. We could not have done it without you. Let's give it up. All right, honored to be speaking to you. List of impressive adjectives to describe classmates. Thank the teachers and parents. I've got almost every graduation speech cliche covered. I have an inside joke for the medical students at the end, but I'm saving it. So wherever we go from here, whether we're sticking around or off to somewhere new, whether it's out west to Seattle or east to Manhattan, up north to Vermont or down south to Tampa, we're all going to be bound by our time here together at Toledo. And if there's one thing I would challenge us to take away and remember from our 4 years on this campus, it's kindness. Remember that resident who let you go home early to study. Remember that attending who brought the office coffee. Remember that classmate that reminded the group me we have a form due at midnight. His name's June. Shout out to June. Remember when Dr. Mattis replied to your email at 5:97 a.m. And go be that person for somebody else. Remember the time that you had in Toledo, the way you were treated, and pay that kindness forward to those that come after us on this wild ride to becoming a physician. And if you can't remember that, at least you always remember Dr. Alduhan illustrating radiologic physics with his arms. Thank you all, and go Rockets.
Thank you, Dr. Mariani. Graduates, today is your day. As a medical student, and first of all, as a promising career as a healer, a scientist, an educator, and now a physician. Today we celebrate your accomplishments and opportunities for a bright future. Congratulations and my sincerest wishes for continued success in your life journey. Congratulations and thanks to all the graduate families, loved ones, teachers, and mentors. That concludes today's ceremony. We ask that the graduate, class holders, faculty, and audience remain in your seat until the platform party, which is us, have recessed out of the arena. As they recess, the platform party will stop to join the students on the floor for a group photo. Once the platform party stops, students please stand and face the stage for the photo. Thank you all.
Okay, everybody stand.